Are you a real estate investor looking to sharpen your skills or a newbie looking to become one? You're in the right place. Welcome to Where Should I Invest? Real Estate Investing in Canada with your host, Sarah Larby.
Hey everybody, Sarah Larby here. I'm going to do a different episode today. This is why it's released on a random day of the week and not a Friday. But I wanted to balance out the conversation that's happening with the pandemic. And I just ask you guys that to just keep an open mind. There will not be any commercials or anything in this podcast, but I wanted to bring in Christina Turner from Zucchini Cucina. They are a restaurant that I really love in Oakville. And I just wanted to balance out the conversation a little bit just to see what they're going through as a restaurant throughout the pandemic, and just entrepreneurs in general. And I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. I'll tell you, just a heads up, it's not real estate related, but if you are starting a small business, you are an entrepreneur, this is going to be quite interesting. And I think, as people, let's support our small businesses, let's support our local businesses, because at some point, if this goes on for much longer, we will be left with Costco, Walmart, Amazon, Shoppers, and the grocery stores, and variety will not be where it once was. So Christina was awesome. I mean, she's answered tons of questions that I had, about the restaurants and the restaurant industry and how they fared during the lockdown and how they had to pivot. But reach out to your local restaurants, support them, take out as much as possible. And, we'll all get through this together, and hope you enjoy today's podcast. And it is definitely a special one. And thank you to Zucchini Cucina for just being open and sharing their story. So let's bring in Christina. Christina, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Sarah. I'm very good. Thank you. How are you doing?
Good. I'm excited. So this is a very different podcast that I'm used to, but I've been at your restaurant. I love your food. And one of the things I want to do is I want to, share the conversation of, businesses and restaurants, just for us to get an idea of what's happening throughout the pandemic. But I also, would love to hear about how, you started the restaurant and all of the entrepreneurial stories that you might have. And, but I think it is important, though, at the end of the day, to balance out the conversation, throughout the pandemic. Obviously, COVID is a horrible thing, and I hope nobody, gets sick, and I hope you guys listening to this don't get sick, but there's other sides to the story, and I think just having that well-rounded conversation is really important. But Christina, can you give us a little bit of background about you first and foremost, and what you do as an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. Okay, so my name is Christina Turner. I am the front of house manager here at Zucchini Cucina. I've pretty much been here since we have opened in August of 2020. We have two owners. One is our chef, Giuseppe Ferraro, and the other is one of our partners as well, Anthony. So we've all kind of joined forces together to make this restaurant happen. Over the past, year, I want to say just under a year, it's been a very interesting experience with what's kind of been going on at the moment. So, we opened in August. We kind of had intentions that hopefully COVID would just kind of be a one-time thing, and the first lockdown would just kind of, bypass and we go on to regular measures. But I guess now we're at the point of time that we're at the moment, and we're in the midst of our third lockdown. We've all worked in the restaurant industry for many years. Myself, since I was like 15 years old. Joe's pretty much been on the same platform. So this is something that we've never really seen in our history of career working in restaurants. To have what we have at the moment, our 30-40 tables be empty. I'm kind of just looking at them right now, and there's no guests in here, and it's Thursday at 3 o'clock, and at this time if this was regular, normal, resumed hours, we'd have a couple people sitting in here enjoying the rest of their lunch, and we'd be pretty much getting ready for our dinner service. So I guess just kind of touching base more so into what we do. We're a modern Italian eatery or restaurant, would you say? We provide fresh local food to our customers. Majority of the stuff is made in-house, and the stuff that isn't made in-house, we get it from like fresh local distributors, people that make great product, and we know that we make great product, and we, obviously want our guests to experience the same thing. So yeah, that's a little bit about us.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, restaurants to begin with, just, pandemic aside and COVID aside, the turnaround or the turn over on restaurants, what is that? Like most restaurants, 50%, I don't know what the stats are. You probably know better than me. Is it 50% every 2 years? Don't go past that 2-year mark. And then once you get to the 5-year mark, is it 75%? I didn't think the restaurant industry was that lucrative to begin with, right? And a few do make it. And you add the pandemic and you add all these constraints on top of that, that definitely makes it tough. Any comments on that in general?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the restaurant business is a tough industry in general. It falls into the factors with many other industries as well. I believe, if I remember, you are pretty much correct. I learned that in school too. It was like within the first year or the second year that you open, you pretty much have a 50% success rate or chance of success rate. So if you go past that first year or two, then you're pretty much in the clear to continue going. I mean, the longevity of restaurants isn't usually very long unless you've built a great rapport for yourself and you've built a great name. Some places like, I'll take Soto Soto, for example, they've been around for 10, 15 years, however long they've been around, but they've built that reputation for yourself. There's, corporate places that last for their 8 to 10 year mark, and then they flip over and they reface their platform and they become different restaurants, right? So it's kind of a hit and miss. You have to be super dedicated. You got to really put full force. Your life becomes a restaurant sort of aspect, and if it doesn't, then that's where it pretty much starts to like hit the fan, and people don't really realize that either. Some people expect to just open a restaurant and think that I can just open it and have some fun with it. Not really the case. Like, yeah, there's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of hard work too, and if you don't know how to outlet properly, or if you don't know how to run a restaurant properly, then your chances of failure are probably more high than they are not.
Yeah. And there's costs, right? There's costs of food waste. There's costs of, and just pandemic specifically, of having to buy all the extra stuff so that you can divide things properly. You have the right decals on the floor. From a standpoint of having opened up amidst the pandemic, were there additional costs or things that you had to go out and buy or do in order to meet all the guidelines when they were initially telling you that you were able to be open?
Sure. So first of all, I think we felt it the most during this last lockdown because of the fact that we were affected during Easter. So we had expected to have our 50% capacity and obviously our takeout running. Thankfully, we kept our specials, like what we were offering for Easter Friday and for Easter Sunday, quite small. So we were able to sell it during takeout. However, we had also expected, again, the restaurant to be open. So we had ordered some more quantity of things with hopes thereof that, doesn't just come with food, that comes with beverage and alcohol and, some supplies that we need and X, Y, and Z. We want to make the restaurant look a little nice because it's a nice long weekend and we want people to feel comfortable. So there was just, we had obviously spent on that. Thankfully, I think a lot of customers and regulars had come in and they were just like, oh my goodness, like you guys are closing up. Let me, get as much as I can to feed my family and whatever's sufficient. So that was good. We were able to clear stock in that sort of way. However, during the regular dining in experience, we had to put up our COVID signs. We offer free masks at the door for the customers. So these are extra expenses. The sanitizers, making sure things are sanitized and cleaned properly, and we want people to know that we're doing this stuff too, because just because I say it when I, bring a terminal over to the table that, yeah, it's sanitized, majority of the time people don't believe that, right? So you gotta have the antibacterial wipes, you gotta have somebody doing that. And we had hired a girl who was pretty much her main responsibility was to make sure that things were sanitized. She helped with other things in the restaurant, but one of her main priorities was keeping the door handle sanitized and, you know, making sure the bathrooms were clean and X, Y, and Z to kind of fill that in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were talking about, you know, somebody to just do the sanitization, but did you have to make any shifts or changes to any of your staff, cooks, any cutbacks? You know, what did that look like with all the rules?
That's kind of been our biggest challenge. I think in my position, I think that has been my biggest challenge. First of all, it's been tough to hire people once we have reopened the restaurant. I feel like a lot of people think just because they're signing up for a part-time job, you know, the government is paying, CERB is paying their $900 every bi-weekly. So why would I take on something that's only going to give me 2-3 days a week when I could be making $900 from the government? That's one factor that I found.
And that's very true. Yeah, a lot of people said that, and I've heard that as well.
Right, and it seems like the remarks that you're getting in the interviews, like rather than the professionalism and you know, getting to know you sort of like aspect has kind of gone out the door. Now they want to know, how much money am I making? What do you expect me to be making? How many hours am I going to be putting in? Like, if I'm not going to be doing this sort of thing, then I'm not going to bother coming to work. And you're getting that right at the interview. And I'm like, whoa. So it's been hard. We were able to hire a few people. Unfortunately, once they pretty much got into the midst of working, we had to close down again. And that was so difficult for me to tell these people, like, you have to stay home, my staff, you have to stay home. You can't come into work, you know, this weekend. Like, it felt heartbreaking for me, even though some of these staff members had only been working with us for a week, 2 weeks sort of aspect. So
yeah, that is unfortunate. And you know, a lot of them have families and you know, and kids and things that they have to pay in order to keep living. And I think it's just from a you know, obviously for health it's important, but just from an economical standpoint, just the economy itself, businesses themselves, you know, people, I don't know how this is all going to play out at the end, because it just seems that, like, the more that we're into this, the harder it is for people that are, you know, probably lost everything to start doing something. So I really don't know how they're going to come out of this at the end. But it, you know, a lot of people had to pivot. I think one of the things that they recently asked you guys to do is no outdoor dining. And I don't know if you had a patio per se or not, but you know, I guess it's tough, right? Because a lot of people will buy the outdoor furniture, they'll buy the heating lamps, and then all of a sudden they have more restrictions. What are some things that you did maybe that are, you know, things that worked out for you in order of pivoting to try to just, you know, keep yourselves above water?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, during the dine-in experience, we were obviously having everybody 6 feet apart, and we took away a lot of tables, and, you know, we made sure that everyone was as comfortable as they could be. I've changed up the style of serving into making sure you ask the customer if they are okay. So, would you like your food packed up? Are you okay if I pack it up, sort of thing. You know, you have to be really attentive to what people say, because people have little things that maybe you don't grasp right away, but it is something that's bothering them about COVID or something along those lines. Even the most nonchalant person who you think is pretty cool just sitting at a table at the end of their meal, hey, can you bring me some hand sanitizer? So everyone's kind of got their like little things to it. So it's just about, you know, making shift and making sure that they feel comfortable and that sort of thing. We did the outdoor dining in the front of the restaurant last year. We put up a couple of tables, and it worked out all right. Some people sat out there, but for the most part, everyone wanted to sit inside. This year, because obviously COVID is still going on, and the city was giving more leeway with giving permits and stuff like that, we were hoping to have an outside patio on our back. We got a nice big garage and some parking spot space, and our landlord was all for it, and we were ready to go, but then we got locked up. So we kind of don't know, moving forward, if that's something we should still even keep an option to, because we don't know if, we're actually going to open up next month, or if they're just going to keep, closing us down for the next little bit.
Yeah. I mean, how much longer, just restaurants in general, like how much longer do you think, restaurants can keep doing this for before they say, unfortunately, we've got to shut down? I mean, you probably have other friends in the industry and other people that, based on your knowledge and just the areas, like how many of those businesses are just not coming back at this point for good?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a factor of two things. And I want to say this as I guess balance as possible. So, I mean, I feel like a lot of businesses have been in the game for a very long time, and, they're unfortunately kind of looking for a way out at some point. And this, COVID just kind of hit, and, they were like, we made it this far, but, we can't afford to do this any longer. And this is kind of just our way to close the chapter and move on in life. But there are a lot of restaurants and people that we're talking to, restaurant owners, hairstylists, fashion boutiques. Fashion boutiques are taking a huge toll right now. People don't know a lot about that, but, majority of the places that they get their clothing shipped in from are non-accessible anymore. Places like Italy and Germany, and, it's taking them so long to get in their items. And they're left with buying clothing from, unfortunately, China, where, it's obviously a lot cheaper, but the quality of the clothing is not at the same register that they were holding. So they're losing customers in that aspect. And they're trying to make shift to provide people with clothing that they can get. And it's not the same, customer rapport that they were getting before. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if this isn't the last lockdown and this just progressively continues, it's going to get harder and harder for everybody. We feel it. At first, we're like, okay, like we should start offering our focaccia bread, and we should start offering our dips, and we should start offering that. And yes, there are things that we are able to offer and we are able to give customers, and, people want to come in for the takeout experience, and we're really appreciative of all that stuff. But we have a full restaurant, and, each table, you're taking X amount of dollars away from each table that could possibly be there in the restaurant. And to maintain the building is, we have thousands of dollars to pay in rent, and we're not making those thousands of dollars just from takeout, unfortunately. And a lot of people are feeling that same way. Even coffee shops, like, even though the coffee maybe costs you $3 and you go and you sit there for an hour or whatnot, but if they're getting 30, 40 people within an hour that are ordering $3 coffees, that makes a huge difference, and that are able to sit there and enjoy their coffee. And that's what became the whole experience. Now they're getting maybe 10 at a time, and that's cutting their costs in half, if not more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, it's not just restaurants, but you mentioned the boutiques, the coffee shops. I mean, you guys have landlords. You mentioned your landlord. And I think, like, at some point the government wanted to give landlords an opportunity to offer you guys a bit of a discount. And if they offered a discount, then they would pitch in. I think it was 50%. If landlords dropped it by 25%, and then you guys paid 20, anyways, something along those lines. But not everybody qualifies for this kind of stuff. Not everybody qualifies for the grants. Did you guys qualify? And if you can share why or why not?
So we applied for multiple grants. I believe there was 2 that we were allowed to apply for in the first grant session that they kind of opened up. We did not apply for either one of them. Their reason stating is that we did not have a profit loss to show from 2019.
Because we were open in 2019.
That's right. We are a new business. And they had also stated on TV that they were here to help small business and new business. And for us, we feel like they haven't really given us anything, and they haven't even given us the opportunity to vouch or somebody to talk to where we can, we can say, okay, like, yeah, maybe we don't have to show you this, but we got to show you the past several months that we've been doing and how the decline is affected during the lockdown. We haven't had that opportunity. The banks give you pretty minimal information because they only have minimal information. They don't even know where the heck it's coming from. Do you want to come say hi? All right. So, we were kind of just stuck at this like no aspect, and we had to bite the dust, and we had to deal with it, and we're still trying to think of ways that we can, try to benefit from this or to escalate differently in a different direction without the government.
Yeah, I mean, or to mitigate the loss, right? I mean, that's a lot of debt, or you got to have really deep pockets. You're either taking on a lot of debt or you've got really deep pockets. Either way, right? Because it'd be hard to make a profit right now. What can I mean, this is you're in Oakville, you're close to the downtown core of Oakville. What are some things that people can do, whether it's to support your restaurant or other small businesses? Like, what are some ideas that you have that people like us can help and, maybe start doing?
As much as I want to say come in and order food, yeah, that's awesome. But I think we're all at this point now where we want to advocate that small businesses taking a huge loss right now, and a lot of people are suffering from this, and this just goes beyond just our restaurant in general. We all need to kind of back each other up and realize that in Canada there's a lot of small business. Corporate business is like that much of the aspect, and small business is like that much of what makes our Canadian country really great. So we have to make people aware. We have to get people involved. There are many groups and many people who are out there trying to advocate this. We just hooked up with a group. They're called We Are All Essential. You can find them online, weareallessential.ca. And they help small businesses. They advocate them into the right direction, whether you want to open your doors or not. They're here to help you and to get you in with a mentor and to talk to somebody and, again, steer you in the right place. As for, our customers and the people that want to come in and walk in the door, don't be afraid. Come in. If you want to stop by for a quick coffee and just have a little chat about, what's going on with your business, what's going on with our business. We need to be really vocal. We need to be really aware of what's going on. And we need to stay up to date, like with events, day to day, making sure we're telling each other what's going on. At the end of the day, if this goes to the extremist, like right or left position that we're in, and, let's say the whole cops come and they're detaining people from going into whatever restaurants, hair salons, and X, Y, and Z, we all need to fight together. That's what I think. We need to stand united, because if we don't, then the government and other people are going to overtake what we have to offer.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I mean, that Instagram that We All are all essential, I'm part of it, and they have some great points. And this is not because I'm taking one side or the other. This is, we have to have a balanced conversation. But at some point, right now, we're not addressing all the mental health and the abuse that's happening and everything else. And my spouse is a police officer for Halton, so we see this. But it's not as advertised. But the other part of it is, businesses, it's business owners, it's entrepreneurs, and it's people that have put in their blood, sweat, and tears for years and everything that they have to make a business work. And it's tough, right? It's just like, what is the right way to go about it? And I'm seeing some businesses stand up and open up, which, again, I think it's cool, provided that you meet the safety protocols that a Walmart or a Costco or whoever else has the same protocols. I think you guys, in small business, in a way, you're able to control it a lot better. You're able to control, distancing and so forth. I don't necessarily think that shutting down restaurants and gyms is necessarily that's likely overkill. That's just my opinion, guys. If you don't agree, that it's totally cool. Let's just be able to understand each other's points of view. But at some point, I think you're right. Like this needs to go away at some point soon, or it's going to be very extremist, right? Are we going to get, even more freedoms taken away? Or, are people going to say, I'm going to open up, but you can't do it by yourself, right? Like you can't open up a restaurant out of, 100 restaurants nearby, and then you're going to be the one that's singled out. So at some point, people do need to come together and stand united in whatever direction that it is. And I think, especially with a third pandemic, I think people are starting to see, more of the numbers, more of the data, ask more questions. I'm not denying that it's a real thing. It is a real thing. I know people that have had COVID, and, I've had people that have gotten sick, more sick than others. But at the end of the day, is it also, not important to look at the suicide attempts, the overdoses, like all the additional things that I don't know why we're not having those conversations around it, in addition to our economy and small businesses. And you are absolutely right. In Canada, the majority of the businesses are 1 to 100 or 99 employees. That is the majority. That is a bread and butter across Canada of the businesses. It's not like the US. The US is like the opposite. They have the jumbo businesses. Majority of employees work in these jumbo businesses, but it's very, very different here. And
Right.
this is how we've created our economy. This is why I think Canada is so awesome. But, if we don't find a way to unite in some capacity, whether it's all restaurant owners, all businesses, and speak up, then I don't know. I'm actually a little bit worried of what can happen down the road.
And I think now you're right. Yes, people are waking up a little bit. They're starting to realize, okay, we've been doing this for the past year, and what's the outcome? Like, obviously, we're not really helping anybody if we keep locking down like what's going on. But there is also a divide of people who feel like just because we want to open our business that we are anti-maskers, or we're anti-vaccinators, or we're anti like COVID. That's not necessarily the case. We want people to be fed, have food on their table with the money that they're able to get from working. And, whether you want to wear a mask or not when you come into this establishment, that is your choice. That is not my choice. However you feel that you want to protect yourself is all completely up to you, right? But now there's a little bit of a separation. So if you go outside of your grocery store and one guy's not wearing his mask, and then the lady behind him who's wearing the mask is telling him to put on the mask, and then they start fighting, it turns into this whole big ordeal. For what? A year ago, we weren't wearing masks.
No, and you know what? I've seen many tests with the masks where like people are smoking or vaping, and then they're like putting their mask on, and like all the smoke goes right through the masks, right? And again, like, a year ago they were saying don't bother with masks, like, and now they're saying you can't go anywhere without a mask. So I think there's just been a lot of contradiction along the way that just makes us start to become skeptical and say, can they actually be trusted? Do they have our best interest? And why are they doing all of these things? And I do want to, switch a little bit, because like you're talking about people coming into the restaurant and enjoying the experience. And I think that's super important, because I think it's part of your mental health to get out of your house, and like, whether it's going to work out, or even just going out and socializing for an evening at a restaurant. I mean, I definitely miss that. But I also think that as people, sometimes we take the path of least resistance, and we just order on Skip the Dishes or Uber Eats, and like they're great companies, but I'll tell you, if you're ordering from those, I don't know like the profit of your stuff specifically, but it definitely reduces it. And I don't know if you're able to share a little bit of like how that works, somebody ordering from Uber Eats or whatnot versus like driving and getting takeout to help you guys a little bit more.
Absolutely. Okay, so I guess I'll give you kind of like two ends of the spectrum, the way that I see it. The first end is that before we opened the restaurant, I was using Skip the Dishes and Uber Eats quite a bit. Like, I would order at my workplace, I would order, at home and whatnot. Great service, really easy to use, super user friendly. Even now, Uber is their platform is getting even bigger. You can order groceries or whatever you want on there. So, for that, it's been super efficient, I think, for the customer experience. For the restaurant experience, now that we're on the back end, has been a little bit, it's had its ups and it's had its downs. So they obviously, they offer you a lot of benefits now with the COVID stuff. You want to do free delivery, buy one, get one free sort of options. They kind of do that for the restaurant, sometimes I think Skip for the last lockdown had like we paid like a $3 service charge for all the orders that were going out. It was something along those lines. So they cut the prices a little bit, which was good. Now here's kind of like the negative, like opposing opinion. What I'm finding is, you know, a lot of people are ordering restaurant quality food, and by the time it gets to their door, for however long it took the driver to get here and to get to their door, they're no longer enjoying that experience the way that it should be enjoyed. So, you know, you're paying a premium. You're paying $28 for a plate of pasta, for example, or for, you know, a sandwich X, Y, and Z. By the time it gets to your house, you're like, why did I pay $28 for this? But people also don't realize that it took the Uber driver at first what would have said 15 minutes to get to the restaurant. Then he changed it to 26 minutes. And then he came here, he ordered, or he dropped off 2 other orders on the way. And by the time he got to your house, it's already been an hour and 15 minutes, maybe, or something along those lines, 45 minutes. So your food is cold, may have been shaken around in the vehicle a little bit, and then we're getting, you know, bad stars or bad comments or some explanation along those lines. So that's what I found was kind of the downfall of it. It's a great platform, and it's, you know, super easy to use, and people really go to it because they know that they're going to get a ton of restaurants or takeout food options, and they can kind of compare between the two of them. But for the restaurant end, you're losing the quality, and we already know that. For us, it is better if you either call in or you order on our website, because you as a customer are coming to pick up your food, and you know what you're getting, and you know where your food product has been, and you know who's traveled with it, where it traveled to, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. Great points. Well, Christina, I mean, it was a pleasure talking to you. Can you let us know, like the listeners, if they wanted to eat and reach out to you, what's the best way to get in touch?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Yep. Thank you, Sarah. We are Zucchini Cucina. We are at 438 Kerr Street in Oakville on the corner of Kerr and Spears. You can call us at 905-808-8374. Find us online at www.zucchiniscucina.ca. or on Facebook and Instagram at Zucchini's Cucina.
Amazing. That's awesome, Christina. Thanks for sharing your stories. I mean, I'm a big supporter of small businesses. You know, folks listening to this, we've just got to do more for our businesses. We've got to do more for our local businesses, because if we don't do anything right now, by the time that this is all over, we're literally going to have Walmart, Costco, and Shoppers left. And that will be really sad. So Christina, thank you so much. And I love your food, by the way. You guys are awesome.
You're awesome too. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks so much for listening to Where Should I Invest with your host, Sarah Larby. Make sure to listen in next time. We'll catch you on the next episode of Where Should I Invest?